All right, I got a chair for you. Have a seat. You might be in a position right now, in a season right now, could be a day, could be the last week, could be the last year, where you wish you were who you were back then. And when we find ourselves in like despair and grief and suffering and like going through tough times, man, the wish pops up. Like how I remember myself years ago. I was happier back then. I had better relationships. I swear my job was more fulfilling. I liked who I was more. I had a better sense of future, and I was more certain about where I was going. All these things, all these thoughts pop up in these memories of, I want to go back there. I want to be that guy again. I want to be that person again. I swear they were happier. And whenever I make a video, I bet the majority of you, either if it's right now or you've been in this position where you've thought that, you've wished that. And anybody, I'd like to think and hope that when you go through tough times, when you lose someone you really love, and you centered your life around them and love them so much, you're telling me you don't want to go back to the way things were just for a little while? When you're dealing with depression, out of the blue it seems like, you don't want to go back before the diagnosis? When you were diagnosed, and if you're diagnosed, I responded to some beautiful woman in the comments last week who's dealing with breast cancer. You know, there's wishes all over the place where we wish we could go back. We wish we could experience life as it used to be. Whether that's the innocence of us being in childhood and being taken care of and having little responsibility, or when we were just in a better mood. We just even we can't get out of a rut. We're like, what happened? I used to be the guy that blank did this, thought this, was like this. And now, it's like we can't get there anymore. And we can't see it in the future. What the heck's going on there? We can't see it in the future. And I hear that. And I definitely feel that. And the first thing you got to do is, if you're wishing that right now, as a mindfulness teacher, you have to stay present. No, just kidding. I hate that stuff. Wish it. Wish it. Be okay that you're wishing it. Think about the past, okay? You know, some people are like, no, you got to stay present. Be in the moment. The past is gone. Okay, in one way, sure. But in mindfulness and in my sense of spirituality, and as I'm growing, it's being with this human experience of, you're going to wish that. You're not going to want to be here sometimes. You're not going to want to keep fighting. You're not going to want to keep going on. But in mindfulness, it's being aware and paying attention to you wishing that. Being with the wisher. If you're going to be the wisher in this moment right now. And really sense that, how you're feeling. But man, I wish I could go back to that guy, that girl, that person. And be there for a little while. And when you do that, we grieve, we have a sense of loss. And in my experience, you know, to be honest, my life is awesome. And, you know, going through depression and everything, like I'm engaged right now. We got engaged, Vanessa and I, August 22nd. She's a very private person. She doesn't have social media or anything, but maybe on Patreon. You've all met her once, I think. But yeah, we're going to get married hopefully next year, setting things up for the wedding. Life is amazing. Life is amazing. And in the depths of depression, you got to know that I was wishing I could be the guy who wasn't depressed. I swear years ago I was, you know, more this, more that, in just a better mood. I was enjoying life more. And now, why is this worrying me? Why am I anxious about this? Why is this making me tear up? Why? Boom, 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 boom. In those moments, see it for what it is. Be the wisher. But then it's time to have a bit of a shift of perspective. And I want to play you something. Just if I forget the chords, I have something up here. There we go. Now, oh yeah, and I know the audio is garbage because we're up north here. Believe it or not, this chair is so comfortable. We're up north here, and that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it. You go on YouTube and these people call this grounding now. Ion exchange through the ground. This guy, Gary Brecka, and people who charge thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to give speeches to tell you to go outside, get good sleep, get some sunlight, and ground yourself. There, I just saved you 30,000. All right. I want you to listen to these lyrics for a second. If you're Canadian, you know Ian Tyson. If you know your country music, you know Ian Tyson. If you're a cowboy, you know Ian Tyson, or a cowgirl. But just listen for a minute, okay? And you can be the wisher for a minute as well, where you want things to be easier right now. You wish you were that person back then still, because they were happier. The way you relate to them. You were happier back then, weren't you? So who are you now? You swear you were stronger back then, right? You swear you could do more back then, right? You swear people liked you more back then, right? You swear you could work harder back then, right? You swear back then you were in better physical shape. Now, there's one idea of us glamorizing the past. You know, I used to, and I still do, I glamorize living in year 0. Ancient Rome, center of the city. Oh, but man, I better have a lot of money back then if it's going to be a good life. Well, I fought her winters, and I busted her horses, and I took more than I thought I could stand. But the battles with the mountains and cattle seem to bring out the best in a man. I guess a sailor, he needs an ocean, and a mama, her babies to hold. And I need the hills of Wyoming, in the land of the buffalo. But the battles with the mountains and cattle seem to bring out the best in a man. And I remember with some sense of relief from depression a while back, I thought, well, isn't that a weird sense of purpose? The purpose to overcome. And I know it sounds nuts, but what a privilege almost it is to have that sense. And how, you know, you pity people who never got to witness their full strength and what they were capable of. And no human goes through life like clean and not scratched and bruised and scarred. But some people don't get that true sense of how strong could I really be? What could I really overcome? What could I really master? I guess a sailor, he needs an ocean. The waves, the storms, the choppiness of sea, the scurvy. Right now, it's easy to think that the past you were stronger because you were happier. But happiness isn't necessarily the only metric to measure your life by and if you're progressing. Let me repeat that. Happiness and an overall mood isn't necessarily the only metric. It's actually not really a good metric to see if I'm progressing through life. Sometimes even physical health is tough to measure. You know, back then was before the diagnosis. Back then was before the knee injury, before the back injury, before the frozen shoulder. before the amputation. In all of the physical battles, psychological battles, they're there, you know, sometimes our physical strength won't get stronger. You know, our bodies degrade over time. Psychologically, sometimes our mindset will, you know, won't be as strong as we want it to, and our mood will fail us. But in all of these challenges and all of these struggles, there's a massive opportunity for spiritual growth. And I don't want to sound like, to shrug everything off and be like, this is an opportunity to grow in spirit, you know? Like toxic positivity, absolutely not. But I guarantee it, if you look at who you are now and who you were, I guarantee you, you are stronger spiritually by a million. To gain a closer sense of what God is and how close you can get. And that's what these struggles gave me. You know, do I wish sometimes I was that guy? I don't think so. I don't think so. The wisdom I've gained, the experience, 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to help people not even close to as much as I can now. Because I'd be listening to people who are going through something, I wouldn't have any clue what the heck it feels like. I wouldn't have any clue how to help. You need the mountains and you need the ocean. The mountains to climb. And if you're climbing a mountain, you're going to stumble, man. You're going to fall. No one can climb a mountain without falling, without tripping, without bruising. So be the wisher for a little while. It's okay to wish. But in this moment right now, I got to tell you that although you might not be feeling the way you used to, the feeling is one metric. Spiritually, how close you feel to the ground, how close you feel to God in moments of struggle, how close you are to that privilege of overcoming. And then your ability to share that with others, that gift of overcoming. And that's what humans do. That's what humans do. We don't give up. We are at a gender reveal party. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Rob. We are at a gender reveal party, and in social settings, that's where I get to be a complete goof. And then I like to thank you all for giving me this outlet to be a more serious Scott, because this is what I love to do too. And there was a few fresh babies there and kids, and they just don't stop. Yeah, a baby doesn't stop trying to walk after a couple crawls. No human grows up. And we imagine everyone's 38 years old and we're just crawling around because we all just gave up trying to walk. It's too hard. I just kept crawling. No, everyone gets up. And then before you know it, the baby's walking. And then they're jumping. And then their finite motor skills at age 3, 4, they can stack things, they can grab things, they can interact. They're starting to climb at age 2, 3 years old. You know, we don't quit. And just because you get older doesn't mean you lost that spirit. It's still in you. Don't give up. The overcoming's right around the corner, and the overcoming is actually happening right now. As you grow spiritually, as you go stronger, you need the mountains. Just like a sailor needs an ocean and a mama, it's babies to hold, her babies to hold. The expectation of life being easy has really, it hurts, doesn't it? The expectation needs to be dropped. Because when you talk to, you know, these new parents I was talking to, and some people I was reading online about parenting, and everyone's like, it's just so hard. I'm like, what did you think? What did you think it was? What did you think turning 25 would feel like? 30, 35? What did you think losing a loved one would feel like? What do you think winters in isolation feel like? What do you think losing a job's going to feel like? What do you think getting injured is going to feel like? What do you think recovery from surgery is going to feel like? A lot of things are hard, man. But what I'm fully confident is your strength and your ability to overcome. That's what you've done since day one. Since you were crawling to walking, since you were born, all you have done is overcome. All you have done is progressed. All you have done is grown stronger. And when you fantasize about the past, about who you were, I was this person, I was happy, I was this, try to see it actually for what it really is and try not to romanticize it. If you say, Scott, I was just such a better person back then, and I'm going to ask you, were you? Let's sit and think about that. In all aspects, were you really? You had the thoughts you do now? Did you have the same amount of empathy back then as you do now? Do you treat strangers now as you did back then? I highly doubt it. I doubt it. It's okay to wish, but be present in your wishing and move forward the best you can. Now, as far as next steps, my gosh, there's enough videos on here to tell you next steps. It's talking to someone, it's getting a doctor's appointment, it's chatting with me, it's joining my future course, it's looking for online free resources for you. There is free therapy. I put a link in the community tab for BetterHelp, which is an awesome therapy service, which like every influencer is promoting. And I started promoting that way back in 17. And if you don't like that, there's free stuff. People said, Scott, I can't afford $50. I say, okay, go get the free stuff then. You deserve it. In times like these, part of overcoming isn't to be a lone wolf and do it on your own. Absolutely not. Jesus needed 12 dudes and one woman to help him out. So get some help and treat yourself right.